you agree with me that there's been some incidents of electoral violence in this country for some time now. Now, as a security analyst, what do you think are some of the causes of this electoral violence?
Well, Council, I think there are multiple reasons that we can ascribe to it. The first, in my view, is that politics is not driven by shared principles, shared values, and shared norms. That's number one. Number two, that violence has become the most stable, currency in this country. Three, because we have a rentier state in which those who perform particular types of services, preferably the violent ones, that then transforms and eases those who have encouraged them to perform that violence, are then also given some positions. Fourth is that there seems to be a disconnect between the criminal acts that are perpetrated under the electoral laws and then the ability or the possibility of those people being punished. So over time, it's become almost natural and normal that violence becomes an aspect of our electoral, processes. And we can see a direct correlation as on the one hand, elections or the democratic process deepens, and the factual number of violent groups and those who perpetrate these acts of violence. Okay, and those who actually perpetrate these acts of violence. So, for example, prior to the 2016 elections, we had 17 known violent groups. Right now, probably we are looking at what? 26, 27, all kinds of new names are coming up, all kinds of new groups are coming up. So violence is perceived to be extremely useful, it's beneficial, it transforms lives, it creates new identities, and it gives access to power.
You stated that prior to 2016, the 2016 elections,
yep,
we knew of 17 known violent groupings. Yep. Were you by that referring to what has come to be described in the country as vigilante groups?
I think that is a misnomer. If you look at the geographical spread, the franchising of their activities, their capacity first to have access to the tools of violence, and their willingness to use those tools of violence, and the increasing loss of control by those who organize them, then I think the word vigilante is very narrow. If, Council, you accept my argument that we've seen a shift from foot soldierism to what, yes, we, as a misnomer, call vigilantes, and I will now call militia groups, armed, violent, ready to sell their skills to the highest bidder. And to come back to your prevention question, institutional mechanisms and frameworks with very little capacity to actually prevent, then yes. So if you permit me for a split second, I'd like to race through these groups and hopefully also give me a chance to talk about the new ones. So prior to the 2016 elections, we had the Aluta Boys, Bukuri Song, Tuhazi, Pentagon, Bewa Youth, Azoka Boys, 66 Bench, Al-Qaeda, Al Jazeera, NATO Forces, Rasta Boys, Sese Group, Invisible Forces, Bamba Boys. Oh, you are writing, okay. I'll hand you the paper later on. Yeah. Bamba Boys, Delta Forces, Bolga Bulldogs, and the Kandahar Boys. Post-2016, and this is where the franchising and the nature of the rentier state that makes violence a currency then comes in. Post the elections, we have the Eagle Forces, the Lions, the Hawks, Dragons, Burma Camp, Ashanti Vigilante Group. We have also the Green Mambas. Council, let me try to explain these names. I said earlier on that when people decide to challenge the authority of the state, they do so by also trying to send a signal to those who may potentially be their supporters of their strength, invisibility, capacity for violence. And so we are looking at the choice of very iconic names, brand names: Pentagon, Al Jazeera, Al-Qaeda, NATO forces, Dragons, Hawks, Mambas. What do these names signify and symbolize? They symbolize global news, and therefore every time these militias act in Ghana, the UN comments on it, the African Union comments on it, and ECOWAS comments on it.